Welcome, everyone. Appreciate you coming. We are going to be speaking today about applying for jobs online with our special guest, Scott Hajer from Pariveda Solutions. Just to make sure that we are all in the same place, my name is Jason Sanders. We are broadcasting this event for mid to senior level professionals who are looking for a new position and who are not sure about how to apply for positions online or have questions about what that process is like and what happens once you do apply online. Just by way of introduction, I lead Flycast Executive Search. We are a boutique search firm focused on the consulting industry and the software industry. And I've helped global companies like Bain, BCG, Accenture, and others hire executives. But more importantly for this session, I have spoken with, counseled, and placed thousands of executive job seekers over a long career. I am very happy and excited to introduce to you our special guest, Scott Hajer. Scott is a vice president with Pariveda Solutions. Pariveda has consistently earned honors as a best places to work consulting firm focused on solving complex technology and business problems. In his former role as VP of Talent Acquisition for the company, Scott was responsible for growing the firm from just over 100 to more than 700 professionals. He now serves Pariveda as a management consultant focused on improving organizational performance through an employee-centric design. He has undoubtedly screened thousands, I don't know, Scott will find out, maybe tens of thousands of online applications during his tenure, making him an ideal guest for today's topic. Welcome, Scott. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Jason.
So let's get started with a question about why apply for jobs. I generally suggest, and so this is in my role as an executive recruiter, I generally suggest that people look for ways to not apply first, so to go and network or use a recruiter or whatever, and then apply to a position online as a last resort. What do you think about that? Does that sound like a good idea to you?
I think that for sure is the number one first way to go. You know, applying for jobs can be maddening to the job seeker, you know, in the black box feeling and the what's going on and then why didn't I get it and then what's with this rejection that came 4 seconds after I submitted it, etc. But why not apply for jobs? And hopefully today we can give you some tips that will help. But, you know, best case, you get the job. Worst case, your resumes or CVs sitting in another company's database. I will say there's one caveat to that, Jason, that I will, I'll just mention it a little bit later, that that might be a bit of a counterpoint.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about the risks involved in that. Do you want to address that later?
Yeah, let's. It's a teaser.
Let's leave that. We'll leave that for later on.
Let's save that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So some common questions that we get from people that are, you know, that are thinking about taking this route of applying online. After applying online, should I try to reach a hiring authority or contact a recruiter? What should I do about that?
Well, as far as reaching a hiring, like the hiring manager that you know is the hiring manager for the job. Well, it's a no-brainer if you've got a personal connection in some way. It could be third degree, but if in some way you have a personal connection, you should figure out a way to leverage that connection.
Interesting.
If you don't have a connection, then I've got two different opinions on it. One is that a cold reach out to a hiring manager is probably a waste of your time. Most of the time they're kicking it over to like they've got recruiting on it because they don't really want to think about it until they've got a short list.
Right.
So I'm not really a big fan of just reaching out. I will say, and my CEO will hate me for saying this, but if you go a level or two above, let's say you do a little LinkedIn research and you go a level or two above and you write a compelling message, and you'll hear me say the word compelling a lot. I applied, here's my back, I'm really interested in this company because, and here's how I think it fits and something, and I applied, I just wanted to ping you. there's a fairly decent chance that that message will get kicked down from the CEO or whatever layer, if it's a couple up, that says they just forward it to you, and the implied thing from that leader is just do something about this. So in that case, your minimum result is hearing something, which a lot of times as a job seeker in an applying situation is all you want. It's like, how about at least some response, but it might lead to a phone call where you have a chance to show your credentials.
Yeah, well, that is excellent. I hadn't thought of that. I would have probably thought the opposite. And for my money, that's worth the price of admission for this session. So, and I can feel pretty confident that the vast majority, 90 plus, or maybe even 99% of people that apply do not do that. And so that will make your application stand out for better or worse. So there's some really good, helpful advice for folks. I see a position online that is junior to me, that I'm looking for a more senior role. I'm really interested in the company. What should I do? How do I apply? Should I even apply?
Yeah. Well, there's that word everybody hates, overqualified. So it's a hard thing to do because either the tech or the system, the human, it might screen you out and consider you overqualified. But what you need to think about as a job seeker is what does that mean to them? What does overqualified mean? Well, it means there's a fear, right? There's a fear that you're going to take it, that they're a port in the storm. You don't really want the job. And then there might be a salary layer to it that they're just worried about not wanting to get into. So if you really want the job, right? If you're really there's a million reasons why somebody wants a lower level job. It happened in the pandemic. Lots of people stepped down from leadership into role jobs because they didn't want the stress anymore. So I would just say what you want to kind of do is articulate why you would want the job to them in a more subtle way. Like normally a job seeking process is all about you trying to show value to them and why it'd be great for your company. In this case, you want a little layer of why is it compelling to you as well built in. So that gets them over it.
Yeah, let's say you're a director and there's a manager role, but you want a director role. You see the manager role online and you figure, well, if they're hiring managers, maybe they'll hire a director or a VP. So how do you get on that track or even find out whether that's because a lot of jobs are not posted that do exist.
Yeah.
Is there a way to handle that situation?
Well, there I get back to the networking angle on it. If you know that you would like that kind of role in that company, then you'd probably want to find the person who's responsible for hiring it or somebody in that company that can get you having conversations about it. But I'd say, Jay, that might be a better question for you to answer given your expertise, because the other reason, the jobs that aren't posted often at a senior level, often go to external executive search. So they won't post them and they might be posted elsewhere, might be posted anonymously.
Well, what I've seen is that most hiring is done without recruiters and is done without postings. That it's done through networking. It's done through somebody that you know or somebody that they know within a company. So, your answer and my answer are the same. We actually gave a presentation about networking recently, actually 2 different ones in different areas of it. So I completely agree. And what I would say is that you need to do research when you're networking, especially if you're targeting a particular company. And so by doing the research, and as part of that research, recognizing that there's an open position, when you're networking with somebody in the organization, you can refer to that as part of having done your homework. All right, we've got some more common questions, but I'm going to leave them to the end because I want to get to the heart of our presentation here, which are best practices for applying online. These are This is our promise, and we want to make sure that we keep it. And we just got, there you go. Point number one, research the company before applying online. What do you think about that? How important is that?
It's important. I check out their website, Google the company, check out Glassdoor, look at jobs they have posted. Your goal there, well, sure, it's to learn about it, but it's also to know how to tailor your resume. And if you get on the phone call, how to tailor what you say, how to frame the work that you've done, how to use keywords that they use so that you're more likely to be seen in their system. So that's, it's important.
Yeah. Keywords. That's an important one. We've got that. That is slide number 4. So we're going to leave that on the slide, and we will get back to that question because I think it is a very important one. Only apply for the jobs that you are qualified for. Now, this is a little bit different than what I had asked you about before. Do you think that's a reasonable
Yeah, there's
statement?
debate. There's debate on this one for sure, Jason, because, and I'm not sure there's one right answer here. It's just not entirely binary. In my opinion, resume spamming isn't the answer. By resume spamming, I mean just apply it. Hey man, they'll figure out if they want me or not. There's 2 things that happen with that. One, you're just influencing the system in a negative way that bums everybody out. You're overloading it, and when you wonder why you get ghosted, it's because people are resume spamming, and recruiting teams can't keep up. The other thing that can happen is now you're bummed out. Now it's like, hey, I've sent out 100 resumes and I've heard nothing, and you're starting to lose your self-esteem and get depressed when really it's just they weren't valuable outreaches that you did. So I would say only apply for jobs you're qualified for, or the addition of organizations for whom you think you might be a fit at some time. That's what I would say. There aren't that many benefits of sending your resume everywhere.
So I'm hearing
a LinkedIn profile. They can find you later.
I'm hearing 2 things. One is be targeted with what you're doing, whether it's for the position or the company, and recognize that recruiting people are dealing with a lot of people. Don't take it personally if you don't hear something back. It's not necessarily about you, and probably is not. What do you think about cover letters?
Frankly, I'm surprised companies ask for them. Because
companies ask for them. Oh, that's interesting.
Because most recruiters I know don't read them. However, if you submit one, what you want to do is make it additive to your resume.
Yeah.
You might be like, this is redundant. Well, make it not redundant. Tell a story in it. When I read it, like maybe you make it compelling, and the story that you tell is just some brief story that illustrates these things about you in a way. Like pick a work experience that maybe would have been an answer to a behavioral question or something, and weave that in. That's got a good chance of getting you a call back.
No, that makes sense. Keywords on your CV. So here, applicant tracking systems, people that may be junior recruiters scanning through resumes quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think? How do you address that?
Absolutely. Like that's what I alluded to it in the research section. Mm-hmm. Look, the number one thing about this is like, look at the job, and literally, if don't lie on your resume, but literally word the things in your resume in a similar way to they're worded in the job description. Pick those keywords that are in the job description, find a place. Mm-hmm. Because, companies say they have AI tech. So many companies don't. Their AI tech is like really high level keyword matching. And the junior people or the HR teams looking at this stuff, they make it easy, make it real easy. Oh my gosh, I'm looking for somebody with A. This candidate has A. At least get that first call where now you can explain why you're awesome.
Yeah. So far, what I have heard across these four is take your time and customize what you're doing. If I could point out a theme.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's
Follow
just
up with,
more smoke than fire, Jason.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and this next one is as well. Following up is really important in our business with candidates and with prospects and clients. And I would think that would be the case as a job seeker as well. Don't just throw a resume over the transom and see what happens. Follow up.
Agree.
Yeah.
Brief, positive, showing your interest again, bringing yourself to their attention. If they haven't seen you, maybe now they go look, because frankly, not that many people follow up. You'd be stunned. So it does get you some attention. It doesn't get you the job. It might not get you the call, but it will get you a review, which again is what you want. So it is a way of standing out from the deluge of resumes that sometimes hit systems, or just the massive databases.
This is related, but I had two candidates just interview yesterday, and last night and this morning I had two detailed thank you notes. I was kind of blown away. That just does not happen very often. It was a standout. It was an email, but like 3 paragraphs, clear, why they're interested.
Yeah, we forward them around
really
internally.
We
forward them like, hey, check out. Yeah, we do. So like, yeah, I'm a fan.
Great, excellent. Thank you notes. There's another thing for people to keep in mind. And this is something that, unfortunately, Jonathan, I don't know if I said earlier, couldn't make it today, but this is something that he really is big on, and I believe in as well, which is to track the data of your own activities and to have reasonable expectations. Because when you're applying for jobs, you're in a sales process, and sales processes have ratios. And there is some number that you're going to need to send out, and this will help keep things from getting personal for you as well, and help keep you motivated if you have reasonable expectations. Does that sound right? Scott?
Yeah, that's okay. I just love the way you just said it, and keep it from being personal. I hadn't thought about that when I saw this point, but yeah, for sure. And it helps like same with sales, but like what you can't control is the outcomes.
Yeah.
What you can control is the inputs. And so if you need to set out X quality, well, then you know when you've done that. In a job search, which can sometimes feel daunting and an endless uphill, it's not necessarily. So tracking will help you, and throughout your process, it might help you diagnose where you need to tweak things, right? If you said, oh, it's 1 in 10, which I don't know what it is, you pick a number and then see what happens. Yeah. And then it's not, well, okay, maybe I need to look at my resume. Okay, well, I'm not getting as many callbacks, or I'm not getting any interviews from callbacks, and I don't know why. Maybe you need to analyze what's going on in those calls, and so on. So you're iteratively improving throughout the course of your search.
Absolutely. That's great. Excellent. Okay, so we've reached the end of our scheduled presentation. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? Supriya. Hi, Supriya. Good to see you again. She's one of our regulars, Scott. Supriya is and a friend. We've known each other for years, actually. She says, what is a reasonable expectation for callback ratios? Any ideas?
No, but I did. I'll tell you what came to my mind. What came to my mind was 1 in 10.
Yeah.
It was 1 in 10.
It's a good starting place.
But it could be 1 in 5 or anything else. But I'd probably start with 1 in 10 and feel pretty good in the beginning if that's what I was getting.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. And it is going to vary so much by so many factors. The field that you're in, you could be in a more competitive market. Depends on what's happening, in the job market at the time. There's just so many things. But managing toward it is probably more important than what the actual number is. Let's see. An applicant tracking system. So let me describe what that is for people that may not be aware. An applicant tracking system basically helps us recruiters keep track of people as they're applying for roles. But it has functions other than just tracking. Applicant tracking systems can be used to screen candidates out based on keywords and other factors. And so depending on how robust it is, it can be an actual tool that we use to evaluate you as a candidate. So then the question is, so how do I as a candidate, without knowing what is behind the black box, address some of the things that might concern me, like keywords? And you may have some other thoughts in other areas as well, Scott.
So can you say the last part again? How do I address the...
How do you address keywords? So should I load my resume with keywords to address, ATS, automatic selection processes, for example?
Yeah. Well, yes to that. Like that's the simplest thing to do in order to be selected or have the system identify you as a qualified candidate. Like what some of these systems do is they have the job, and then they will, like, the technology might be sophisticated enough to like look at your job history, but for sure it will parse the words in it. So I would say that's what you want to do, and start by choosing words that are actually written in the job description. So I don't just, yes, if there are systems or a tech or applications, or yeah, sure, if you have those, make sure they're in there somewhere. But also if they say that you need experience, managing a department of, you're going to manage the department in the job, well then write managed the department of X number of people, like literally be out.
Yeah. Interesting. Customization, taking care, research. And the other thing that comes up in that question for me is, should you, well, I'll make it as a statement. I think that you ought to write your resume to the job that you're applying for, right? So, I mean, I think you kind of said that, right? So in other words, I may be a director with a technology background in financial services, but I want to do something in digital transformation in, I don't know, insurance or pharmaceuticals. So, and I may have one project way back at the beginning of my career, which I never even think about anymore in pharmaceuticals. So I might want to, if not highlight it on the resume, at least make sure that the keywords are in my profile, in my CV somewhere, so that it gets caught by either a system or a person. And the person is important to think about too. It's not all automated.
That's a really good, that's a really good point. I mean, what I recommend is, like, I wish I would have started this when I was 17, but it's just like keeping an ongoing log of the stuff you've done. Because this word customize a resume can sometimes stress job seekers out, because they think like, how am I going to do that? How am I going to keep it? But the thing is, it's not, yes, it's customized resume, but it's more like plug and play. What's the flavor I need? Oh, well, this piece, now I'll put that in and I'll take this out because it's less important. Like that's part of it too.
Right. Got it. Waleed is calling you out, Scott. He's asking, what is the drawback to applying online that you mentioned at the start?
Oh, I did say it, Waleed. The drawback is the psychology of it. The drawback is, because up there I said something else. It was about like what you might apply for. The drawback is if you send volume. Now that every one of those things you sent out is like a rejection that you never got, and the psychology of volume sending and not customizing can really bring someone down. Depending, like I've been laid off. I've been in job searches. I've been in your self-esteem starts to dip, your depression starts. Like other people may be mentally healthier than I am, but that took me a while to get over. And when your ratios start to look good, you feel good. And when your ratios start to look bad, you start to feel bad. That's what I meant, Waleed.
Gotcha. Okay, good. There's another question here from Supriya. I have heard that I think I'm going to take this one, Scott. This is an interesting topic for me. I've heard some ATS systems will weed out applicants who are older than what they want. So I've stopped putting my school graduation dates in online applications if that's an option. Is that true? And our older applicants screened out. So I'll let you talk about the ATS piece, but that topic itself, I think, is really important. And there is, I guess, age discrimination, we could call it, but age discrimination is not 100% negative. People are making decisions about hiring based on somebody's level of experience, regardless of where that is. If it's early in their career, mid-career, or later in their career, you can expect that somebody later in their career is going to have more experience. You're not going to want to hire them for an entry-level job and vice versa. So I don't think that you want to completely avoid or somehow try to hide who you are, the amount of experience that you have, and so forth. By the same token, you do want to focus on things that are most relevant. And so in writing a LinkedIn profile, and I think of that most clearly, although I think it's true for resumes as well, highlight and put the most emphasis on the most recent positions, like the last 10 years, and the other ones can kind of fall into the background. But also don't think that you're going to be tricking anybody by, eliminating things. Like it's not going to happen. I mean, people will all kind of figure it out. To the question of automation, I'm curious to hear what you think about that, Scott, because I have not heard anything about that. It sounds quite illegal to me for a system.
I'll tell you what, there's most certainly no system in the US that would be designed with that feature, period. Yeah. Now, could one use it? And it's so illegal, Supriya. Like that's a no-go. And everybody knows it. But like, could a company do that? Yeah, I literally read something like there's a subreddit called Recruiting Hell, and I read it just to see how bad some recruiters are. They were talking about a job posting was literally out there that was like, it stated that the person couldn't be over the age of 25. And like, they got called out on it on Twitter or something, and they took it off. But like any recruiting, HR, anybody. So designed for it? No. Could a bad actor do that? Yeah. But I like the way Jason posed, like how recruiters think about things, and there's nothing wrong with the way he laid out that you can adapt your profile. It's not sneaky.
There's an addendum, I think, to both of our answers, and that is LinkedIn. And we are going to have a presentation coming up in the next few weeks that you are not going to want to miss. And this is one of the questions that will be addressed in it. And that is, there is a program called LinkedIn Recruiter. It's an expensive tool that recruiters use in order to access LinkedIn in a deeper way. And one of the sort of variables is years of experience, and another is graduation year. So you can actually use that. It is set up to be able to help you discriminate, right? For better, however you want to use that word, to people that have a certain level of experience. And it's interesting how it works, but that's something that we'll demonstrate when, during that session. I think we may have exhausted our questions, and hopefully not our audience. If there's anything else that you want to hear addressed in a future presentation, please let me know. My information, let's see. Nope. Wait a minute. There we go. Information for Jonathan and me is here. Feel free to send me an email. Anything that you'd like to see in a future presentation, feel free to link with me on LinkedIn. If you've been here before, you're probably already getting emails from me. And apart from that, I would like to thank you, Scott, very much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time and your attention. I think you've added a tremendous amount of value, and I really appreciate you being here to speak with our group. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I hope people got at least one usable thing out of what we did here.
Yeah, absolutely. I am quite certain that there is. I certainly have learned today. All right. Well, until next time, until next Thursday. Bye-bye.